Welcome to the Liberated Leader podcast. I'm your hostess, B. Chan. Together, we'll connect with leaders in the psychedelic space and explore the creations they birthed into this world, all in hopes to bring the psychedelic renaissance into the 21st century and spread the message of inner healing. Because when we heal ourselves, we heal the world. So, let's get liberated. Well, we have an esteemed guest with us today. Her name is Jamie Star Crawford, and she is a dedicated integrative life coach, mental and emotional wellness specialist, entheogenic integration coach, mentor, and creator. Her company, Hive Being, is a collective of practitioners, coaches, healers, teachers, and other dedicated souls committed to whole person wellness. And after experiencing decades of multi-layer illness and mind-body dysfunction, she pursued a path of holistic healing that led her to dozens of modalities, teachings, and experiences that would shape her mission and purpose in life. Today, she supports others with navigating life transitions, creating self-mastery, and living on purpose through having a healthy mindset, emotional wellness, physical vitality, and spiritual congruence. She has a 10-week virtual course called Truth Serum, for women who want to create radical self-acceptance, self-expression, and freedom. Welcome to the pod, Jamie.
Hi. Oh, it's so good to be here.
And so nice to have you. So just a quick little background. So how Jamie and I met, we were actually introduced through Paul Austin, the founder of The Third Wave. And I think you had just started taking his integration coaching course at that time, or microdosing coaching course at that time, and we're looking for some marketing funnel help. And he thought of me, which is so sweet of him, and introduced us. And then a beautiful friendship just blossomed from there.
Oh yeah, it was right in the middle of the course. And what was so cool about what you do is that we're in such a pioneering space as entheogenic practitioners, facilitators, coaches like that. You are one of a kind, Bia. In what you do and what you offer, you're really supporting the transformation of this conversation around psychedelics. So I feel grateful that I met you on multiple levels, because what you're doing right now is transmutation.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Gratitude as always. Cool. So, let's get right to it. So how did the current version of Jamie Star Crawford come to be? Like, tell us about your personal journey.
I like that you say current version, because that's all we are, is current versions over and over again. And I've met so many versions of myself. And so when I think about the entire process of becoming, because that's really what it was and what it continues to be, I begin really with a lot of the conditioning that I had sustained in my childhood. And the reason why that matters to the story is because that's how I meet others and their story. Mm-hmm. We all come with conditioning, programming, trauma, any kind of thing that was put onto us that we didn't know. We didn't know. And so sometimes in that journey, we lose what we call the disconnection between the mind and the body. And that was where mine began. I was a very emotional kid, very expressive, very intense ways of interacting and perceiving the world. I was highly sensitive energetically when I was a kid. And to the fortunate part of my trauma, didn't have that space to explore that. And I say fortunate part because today I am only able to do what I do because of what I went through and what I overcame back then. And so a lot of my history of mental and physical illness came because of that severed connection that I had when I was a kid. And there were so many different levels of issues of chronic illness and these spouts of infection and dysfunction in the body, and random blood tests would reveal this, but there'd be no diagnosis for this. And then it was an autoimmune here. And then nope, we diagnosed it incorrectly. And it was this magical thing that nobody could understand what was going on, but yet I'd have a convenient hodgepodge of diagnoses to choose from. Mm-hmm. And so for me, that's frustration led to my curiosity about what was going on inside of me. And through my curiosity about what was going on inside of me, I came into biology, psychology, philosophy, physics, medicine, and this whole path that unfolded, which was starting with, how do I fix me?
Exactly.
How do I fix me? And ultimately it became not how do I fix me, but how do I bring myself back into alignment? Because that's what it is. Illness and dysfunction and disconnection is out of alignment pieces of the mind, the body, or the spirit. And so everything kind of came to a head when I was in a very, very low depression. I had many seasons of depression throughout my whole life since I was 10. I had my first anxiety attack when I was 11. I went to the hospital. I couldn't speak for a week. I developed a stigmatism in my eye where I could see double, and I stuttered. And so that would repeat itself every so often when I would get under emotional stress, as I would go into these like anxiety attacks and then later panic attacks. And so 15 years of chronic depression, I had lifted it just for a little bit until I had that dark night of the soul.
Wow.
And then when I had that dark night of the soul, which was preemptively triggered by a breakup, of course. Because sometimes our dark nights of the soul need something to send us into the dark night.
Right. An external factor.
Exactly. And so what better way to send you into the dark night than a heartbreak? So as I went into the dark night, there was so much pain and so much of that brewing conversation of, what am I doing here? What is this? Like, I don't want this anymore. I want out. I wanted to die.
Wow.
I wanted to die, but I also wanted to live, which I don't think that's talked about enough yet, is that sometimes when people get that thought, it's not that we all want out all the time, but we don't want what we have. And I didn't want that pain. I didn't want that pain anymore. And so the beginning of my true healing journey was in massive amounts of pain.
Right.
So I think
too, right?
I think it's important to get that sometimes when we're in the massive shit, can I cuss on here?
Right.
When we're in the shit storm, that's a good sign, because that means we're going up from here. I would suggest that's an opportunity for us to go, well, since I'm at the bottom, there's one place to go.
Yes.
And my journey at least began with understanding what was going on in here in my mind. And so the reason I had taken this path of pursuit of mental and emotional wellness is because that was my dysfunction. And what had been the source of all of my pain, the challenge, the struggle in life was in here. So I had to get right in here first, and that's where I began. So many, many, many iterations of layer. Mind, body, emotions, and then ultimately spirit. Each layer, I was getting back into balance, back into alignment, back into self. And what was possible to create that, what made that possible, is I took all the shit that wasn't me, and I had said, that's not mine, that's my mom's, that belongs to my generation, that belonged to my ex, that was part of my trauma as a teenager. Oh, that one was 5 years old. Oh, that was, and I started calling out all these things that I thought were true about me. And I said, no, that was a story that was built. And through the unpacking and the unlayering, because that's when we meet that essence of ourselves, that essence of our soul, we're unpacking. That's all we're doing. We're unpacking and unlayering the condition that was suppressed.
Right.
And so I'm still excited because I don't know which parts of myself I'll meet this year or next year, but we're still unpacking.
So how did you start with your mind? Like, what were some specific things that you've done, that you did do to, begin in that way?
I began in Neuro-Linguistic Programming. Are you familiar with that?
I've heard of it. Yeah. Do you want to explain to people what that means?
Sure. Neuro-linguistic programming, there's many different definitions of it. Some call it the study of success. Others call it the transmission of the subconscious control center. I would like to think about it as a hack into the mind. How to hack the mind through the power of language. And so in that, there are many different aspects of NLP. It is a very dense, deep well of resource and really hacking modalities for the mind that you can pull from in an instant. And most importantly for me, it came with a set of language patterns that I got to teach myself how to use on myself.
Yeah.
So it taught me the power of language and the power of awareness. So it began with listening. That was it. I had to start listening and looking and sensing, taking me off of automatic, because none of us can choose until we become conscious and aware and awake to what we're doing. So it began with neurolinguistic programming. It began with my mind. It began with all of the chaos that I was projecting into the world, just drowning in my life right now. It was really seeing what is going on what's upstairs here. Who are all these voices? Where did you all come from? Are any of you telling the truth right now? And it was questioning and peeling back that, and it was learning how to settle my mind.
So going back to NLP, you spoke about language patterns. Could you give us an example of one?
So there are these language patterns called meta models. And a lot of these have to do with suggested ways of interpreting the world in a positive lens. So our subconscious does not know how to process negatives. So when I tell you, Thea, don't think of a glass bear, what'd you just think of?
A glass bear.
Right. So every time that we tell our children, don't touch that cookie, what is all that child thinking of?
Touching that cookie.
Touching the cookie. And so much of what we understand about how we're parented as kids is I think that now I'm going to tell myself, don't pick up that drink. Don't call him. Stop saying that to yourself. Stop doing that. And so what these meta model patterns do is they give you a chance to suggest a positive response in a way that says, isn't it great that we're all learning here? Don't you know how important it is that we're having this conversation right now and millions of people are listening to you via how nice is it to know that you're going to make an impact in this moment, right? What do you feel? What do you feel? What do you experience right there?
It's power.
All language patterns.
Yeah. So for example, back to the example of, don't touch that cookie. So another way that I can phrase that would be like not referring to that at all and say, oh, I'm thirsty. I'm going to go drink a cup of water.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is one of the ways that we create a habit change is in the moment that our mind wants to run the habit, I can immediately replace it with something seemingly on the opposite side and teach myself to go towards it instead. And it's the same way that our thoughts are habitual. So every time I see it come up that says, I'm terrible at this, in that space of extreme or polarization, because all thoughts are polarized. On one side, there exists another, it's seeming opposites. So if I'm saying, I'm so terrible at this, I suck at this, I think, well, if I didn't suck, what would I be? If I wasn't sucking at this, what would I be? I'd be pretty good at this. I think I can do this. So I look to the opposite of, if I wasn't doing this thing right now, what would I be doing? What would I be saying? How would I be speaking to myself? And then the opposite side is my opportunity to practice over and over again that language with myself until one day I am behaving like that new way of speaking.
How long do you think that usually takes?
There are ways to be able to make it faster. I've seen that. This is it's a very interesting subject, I think, affirmations, because there is a truth and a science to affirmations. And yet we have to understand where we are at in a logical sense, emotionally, about what it is that we're trying to change. So let's say, for example, okay, I am convinced that I'm not attractive. I'm convinced. And maybe like there will be 3 times where somebody says like how beautiful I am, and I put on red lipstick and I made the dress and I brushed my hair, and I'm like, okay, I can probably receive it because I validated the fact that as I walked out of the house today, I think I looked okay. So maybe I'm in a different mind state. So I can receive that compliment much better than if I'm in my pajamas and I woke up and I've got bags under my eyes.
Yeah.
Now, if you're my partner and you're like telling me I'm beautiful, I'll tell you to fuck off. Because in my current identity, that doesn't work.
Right.
So if I sit there and I tell myself the affirmation of I am beautiful, do you have any idea what that's going to do internally? I'm going to resist it. I'm going to fight it. I'm going to be like, there's no way. And I can actually damage my brain by doing that. So what I need to do, if I'm going to use these languages of affirmation, is to follow a logic to it. How might that look is, if my current understanding of myself, with my current picture of it, I'm not attractive. What would connect it to the next level would be, I would like to believe that I can be attractive. I would like to believe that I can be attractive, because that one level higher, but I can still accept that that could be a possibility. And what could happen after that? I would like to look at myself like I'm attractive. I feel a little bit attractive today. I feel more attractive today than I usually do. Every day, I'm learning to see myself better. Every day, I'm getting better at seeing myself better. I can see myself better. I like how well I am seeing myself. I can actually see that I am beautiful. It is getting easier to see that I am beautiful. I can receive compliments. I can understand that what they're telling me is true. Do you see the logical progression here?
Yeah. Yeah. Is that within like one setting that you can do that, or is it progressed over weeks? Or
you can do that in one setting. And for yourself, you can do that in a progression of a number of weeks and or months. But that's just a single part of it. That's the language part of it, that I need to understand what layer I'm working with right here.
Right.
And I can't reaffirm the layer that I'm in because I'm not going to move. So I've at least got to give myself room to jump, room to grow up, room to elevate whatever belief system that I'm currently working with. The second part of that is I have to work with the trauma that is the energy that traps the belief in my body. If I do not look at the system, including energy, including my emotions, including how I see life itself, that belief, no matter how many times I speak it into the affirmative, will not turn over, because the emotion will control it down. It will keep it stuck. So as soon as I can let go of the energy, sometimes that's a catharsis, sometimes that's going back and doing healing work, hypnosis, plant medicine. Plant medicine is, oh my God, it's like a whoa way to be like, oh, wow, Cambo does that, right? Oh my God, there's so much. I just suddenly feel a little bit different. Yeah. Exactly. That is the perfect moment to start writing new affirmations and start speaking out your life in a different way, because there's so much room that was made.
Yes.
That the beliefs now are flexible. The beliefs now are flexible. So I can start looking at myself in a more truthful version of my soul, simply because I was able to release the emotional energy that kept it trapped.
Yes.
That's really important, I think, for people to remember, because they get frustrated when they try to just do the mind.
Yes.
Forget their emotional traumatic trap that keeps them there. And then they think, I am screwing this up.
Mm-hmm.
I must be doing something wrong, or this doesn't work.
Yes.
So they got to come together.
Yeah, I totally agree. I see that happening as well with like friends and family where I'm like, well, I'm saying this to myself every day, or I'm writing this down in my, journal every day. Why is it not working? I'm like, well, how much do you believe that? Right? How much, like, how ready are you to accept that, to be that type of person? Yeah.
That's a great question. How ready am I to accept this? And yet, to move forward or to elevate how I do see myself, my life in the world, I have to be willing to still continue to paint the picture that is future me, and give myself the opportunity to believe it could be me right now. That person I see over there who's healthy and healed and in the relationship of her dreams, and she speaks to herself kindly and she's all full of self-love.
Mm-hmm.
I have to believe that is already possible now. Because at the first sign that I'm either breaking my practice, somebody gives me the feedback that I don't want to see, then I will immediately shrink and contract, and I'll, like a rubber band, bounce back.
Right. So the first time that somebody is, painting that vision of themselves and trying to see themselves as that future self, but having that resistance to, oh, it's such a big jump, or like, I've never been there before. How do I go and do that? How would they then go and, make that easier for them, or, remedy that?
Such a good question, Bia. So one of the biggest things is to understand that how I got to that big picture was many, many steps in between. Many steps in between. So when I look at the big picture, when I look out into the future, and we can all do this, every single one of us is built with future understanding of ourselves. So we can all look out into the future. And the very first thing I have to understand is what I just saw is possible. Because a lot of people see it and push it away and reject it like it's not them. So I have to be very clear with myself and go, that is true. Because in that right there, you can kill the whole thing.
Yeah.
You can end the whole thing. If I go in out and there's a piece of me that goes, that's nice. That's nice. And then I start doing my work and my journaling. And if that's the thought in my head, I will sabotage myself the very first opportunity that gets too uncomfortable, like I'm rising up and I'm about to hit my ceiling. Some people call it upper limits. We have this idea of upper limit, like, oh crap, I hit my ceiling. I don't know what's beyond this. I don't think that I can handle what's that. I can't be responsible up there. I don't know. I've never been there. I will go back down because what I see is what I like up there isn't for me. So I have to first start that. Second thing, be open to small goals. And I mean small goals as in micro goals. Micro goals. Like the tiniest goal. If you look at that picture of who you want to be, I want to be a woman who's full of self-love and confidence, and I want to do the things that I say. I want to be a boss woman. I want to be a woman who's vulnerable and open in my relationships, and I paint this whole crazy picture, right? I got to be willing to look at that picture and go, well, I wonder how she speaks. What kind of decisions does she make? How does she hold herself in the room? I got to look at those nuances, because what I'm doing is that I'm filling out a map for me to follow. I'm filling out the behaviors that I can do now. And in doing that, I'm training myself to see where that situation comes up. Did I shrink, or did I open in the room when they called on me? Because in my vision, a confident woman would open up. Oh, here's my moment. Here's my opportunity. Oh, okay. I want to shrink. I saw that shrinking, but now I'm going to open up. Okay, great. Okay, yeah. I did it. And then celebrate the shit out of it. Celebrate the shit out of it. Because that reaffirms to me, I can do this.
Yes.
I can do this. So after that picture, I have to fill in the map of what my life looks like. How do I dress? How do people talk about me? What's my environment look like? What are the habits that I have? What are the practices? How do I treat my body? What kind of foods do I eat? I mean, in detail. Because that whole picture, when I create the whole picture in detail, the more specifics that I get in that picture, the more my mind begins to understand the possibility.
Mm-hmm.
And when I see the possibility, it's believability. And when it's believability, then I can pursue readily.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Does that all rhyme on purpose?
No, that was pretty slow.
Okay, going back to the 2 points that you've made. The first one, when you were saying the upper limit and then we self-sabotage, that triggered a memory of, I think either listening or watching a podcast by Ed Milet. I think he's also from California. And he was talking about our internal thermostat. So basically we have like a comfortable temperature that we're at, and that's our baseline. So even if we go down, we're going to come back to it, and we go up and we're not conscious of it, we'll pull ourselves back down to it. So that's something that I thought about. And then the second one about the micro goals. So in the moment when, you have an opportunity to be this future person, but you catch yourself shrinking, and then deciding, like consciously deciding, nope, I'm not going to shrink, I'm going to open up. Like, what is the percentage of people who can actually be that aware and do that?
I'll give you a hint. Everybody can be that when they practice becoming aware of what they're doing enough.
Yes.
Because what happens before that moment where you can choose to be that woman in the vision, there's going to be about 30 times where you choose not to be.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to watch yourself every single time go, oh my God, I shrank again.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Oh, and maybe the first handful of times you realize that you shrank 5 hours after the moment.
Yes.
Oh, that was,
Yeah.
oh. But again, you become conscious every time you become aware.
Mm-hmm.
Consciousness only expands. And because consciousness only expands, I'm going to become more aware even quicker next time.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually I'm going to become aware as I'm doing it. And as I'm doing it, I may see the opportunity and maybe at 10 more times choose to shrink instead.
Mm-hmm.
But there will be that moment where I'm so over looking at myself shrink, where I will take the risk and expand in the moment.
Yes.
And I may even shrink again because it was so uncomfortable.
Yes.
But I did see, and I did prove to my brain, hey guys, we didn't die.
Mm-hmm.
Die. Because that emotional fear is in the exact same center of the brain as our physical fear of death. So it's the same thing to our brain. Our brain's like, we're going to die, guys. If we give this presentation and nobody claps, we're dead.
Yeah. The reptilian brain. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
And that reminds me, I had a coach before who once said, what's the worst that can happen? Did you die?
Yeah.
The answer is always no. Right? I'm like, well, no. It was just kind of embarrassing, but like, or actually nothing happened. Yeah, no, I didn't die.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think maybe we just see that a couple of times before we realize I'm safe to move about the cabin. And so that's that I got to dance with the threshold. We call it our edge. When we are in our edge, we're talking about our edge of comfortability, meaning what is beyond the edge is our next level. Mm-hmm. Our next level in our life where we show up in a different way. We're pursuing different goals. I'm now risking myself more, putting myself out there. We call it playing bigger. I'm loving bigger. I'm speaking bigger. Like, ooh, scary. I've never been here before. That's our edge. And maybe our edge is something that I'm leaning into being more disciplined, because what's on my top floor over there needs me to be a disciplined person now, not then, here. Mm-hmm. And so as I get to know my threshold right there, it's learning to be with it in it super uncomfortable, and stay there.
Yeah. Yes.
Stay.
And stay there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great question.
So going back to your story, once you started, putting together the pieces and aligning, the mind and the body and the spirit and the soul and the emotions, how did that take you to now becoming like a coach and a mentor and a creator of your own?
So I like to think that we're given the visions of what we're here to do long before we're ready to have them.
Mm.
We get the pictures and the ideas of what we're designed for. And I got pictures of being here 10, 15 years ago.
Wow.
I didn't know what that was. I just knew I wanted to help people. And I tried all kinds of things. I tried, well, maybe it's nursing, maybe it's counseling. So I followed the breadcrumbs. That's all I could do is follow the breadcrumbs, knowing that I'm here to help people because that is what feels best. And in that, the pieces of the formed vision came. I know, and I know this now, back then it was scary, but I know that I will be on stage speaking to people, training, coaching. I know that because I've seen that vision for 10 years.
Wow.
So I'm convinced. And the closer that I get to and holding that vision, the more I understand that it's readiness for me is here.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to become the person in the vision by walking myself through the steps. And sometimes I think we get discouraged.
Yeah.
Because our goals are so big sometimes, and who we saw in the vision that, oh, wow. As we're walking and taking the steps, we go, why isn't it happening now? Oh my God, I didn't think it would be this hard. It's a lot of steps.
Yeah.
But it's okay because we've got all kinds of divine help. All kinds. So I had the vision of being a coach one day. I just didn't know it would look like this. But it's still helping people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has your vision of being on stage one day, over like the last several years that you've had it, has that vision sharpened or changed?
Yes, in many ways, both.
Mm.
In many ways, because what I knew back then was what I projected into what I was speaking over, or what would be the setting or the environment that I was speaking. It's evolved because what my interest and my purpose has very narrowed into is a lot of what my characteristics have built. My roles have changed in what I offer now. So my role is now sharpening into speaking in that role. And maybe I have 3 more roles to go before I'm speaking in the future role. And I don't know that yet. So it does change. And I have to leave room for it to change because I'm not omnipotent. I don't know what's going on. I don't write the bigger story here. I'm in co-creation with my creator. We're doing it. We're doing a whole tandem thing. And I have no idea what chapter 78 looks like. I'm excited though.
So, I mean, currently, what kind of healing services do you offer?
So a lot of the healing that I do through coaching is what I would call a healing forward. My method is always to heal forward. I'm not, even though there's a massive place for this, I don't go back and look in the baggage department with you. What I believe and what has been true for me and true for the people that I worked with is that if you point far enough in the future and start walking, your baggage will come up whether you want it to or not. And so as you start walking so far in a direction that you've never been, you get so uncomfortable that your trauma has no choice but to go, stop, please. Stop, please. You're getting to XYZ. Stop. We're too afraid. And then it's like, oh my God, what's happening now? Why do I feel so stressed out? And I shut down and I just ate so much this week and I've been getting a lot of anxiety. Awesome. We found something.
Breakthrough. Yeah.
Let's talk about it. What happened? How old were you? Let's go back. Let's go back. What'd you feel? Put yourself back in there now and we confront it. We confront it and we work with it. And what the studies have shown over the years is that And with quantum physics and a lot of spirituality, we understand this, that time doesn't understand like information. It just is. So what happens is when we go back and we address the memory as though it was in the past, the energy right there and what we change about what happened in the past has a direct impact on who we believe we are in the present and where we go in the future. And so going back and resolving that, if there's unfelt feelings, feeling it, if there was lessons I was supposed to getting them, and sometimes being able to turn over the memory in such a way that it releases me from its hold. And sometimes we got to do that a couple times. Yeah. And there's always, even you can go back to the womb. Yeah. You can go back to the womb. So many of the traumas that we carry are in the womb and in our DNA. Yeah. So then when you go back and you go, well, tell me about your mom, tell me about your grandparents, tell me about your family, because you could tell a lot about your wombs just by how many times people carried them. Yeah. That's a big thing right there, because what our generation, I feel such a privilege to be part of a generation where there's so much generational healing happening. Yes. This is our opportunity, is the generation that you and I are a part of, is the opportunity for these traumas to break, for these patterns to lift. This is the opportunity where we've now reached, I believe, a critical mass where so many of us are doing this work that we're going to have a completely different generation in the next 20 years. I truly believe that, because enough of us are going, not me, I'm not doing this again, mom and dad, I'm doing something different.
Yeah. I always make a joke with my friends to be like, I think my next generation, my children are going to be less damaged, right? But I'm still going to fuck them up some sort of way. Like, yes. Perfect, but like, at least I won't fuck you as bad as my parents fucked me up. So
you know how valuable that is to get, though, like as a parent.
Yeah.
You're going to fuck your kids up.
Yeah. To just be like, well, yeah, I'm going to make mistakes. Like, I'm not perfect. Yeah.
Exactly. Do you know how hard that is for most parents to surrender to that, because they like place all of their bets on having their kids turn out in this magical realm of awesome, and my kids are loved and they're accepted by society and they got the job and they got the degree, and as soon as their kid fucks off at school, they're like, oh God, oh my God, what did I do? Because we internalize it. We're like, what my kid is doing is now a reflection of who and what I'm doing as a parent. Oh God, I'm screwing it up. And the sooner I realize that that's going to happen anyway, I can breathe. Because what that is doing subsequently is it's blocking me as a parent from seeing the shadow that I'm projecting in my kid.
Yes. So
if I'm so interested and invested in having my kid show up a certain way, I won't see, and I'll be blind to how I caused what's happening in him. And that's not a blame game. That's not a fault game. I stand responsible for my world, and I stand responsible for what I give to my children, which is it's not a request for perfection. It's a request for consciousness.
Yeah. I definitely think my, well, more of a blanket statement here, but I think coming from like an Asian background, a lot of my parents' generation, that's exactly how they are right now, because like they came from that scarcity mindset. And so back then, like the whole goal was like, get married, reproduce. That was that was like, the end goal. But then now when we are in abundance, right, we have education, we can, women can, make a living and like feed ourselves and whatnot. That angle has definitely changed.
Yeah. What is the biggest breakthrough that you have had personally, moving, I'm not going to say away from that, but into something new as maybe a pioneer for your family? What's been one of the biggest breakthroughs?
Ooh, there's been many. The first one that pops into my head would be not protecting my children so much. Yeah. And allowing them to make the mistakes, even though you can see it and you can prevent them, but allowing them to do it anyway.
Why is that valuable for you?
Because I think I didn't get that opportunity with my mom, like being the Asian tiger mom that she is. A lot of things was like, again, like, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that. So it was actually a very sheltered upbringing for me. And I wish, and then I went ahead and I did it. So like when I was like, in university, I had the freedom. I went and I just kind of went crazy a little bit, doing everything and experimenting and experiencing everything, because she couldn't really tell me no anymore. Right. And I wish it was a bit more balanced. And had I gotten that autonomy or freedom earlier in my childhood, I definitely wouldn't have gone the opposite end when I was a bit older. Yeah.
That's important right there. So what is it that you're hoping to bring to your kids one day?
I think for me, so I came from, my parents don't really have a good marriage. And then that obviously impacted my views on relationships and all that stuff. So when I was younger in my 20s, I'm like, yeah, I don't want to get married. I don't want to have a family. And then maybe like 5 years ago or so, I was like, yeah, I can see myself getting married, but like, I don't know about the kids. And now I'm like, no, I need to have babies. Like, I need to start popping them out. It's like sometime in the next few years, like we gotta go. And I think for me, like it finally became such a strong urge to have my own children and to have that experience of being a parent in this lifetime, so I could break the patterns and the cycle. And a lot of that is, I think there's been like a lot of unexpressed emotions from my ancestors, from my parents, and them kind of passing down this, I guess, habit, and for me to not pass that down anymore.
Wow. Can you imagine a generation of parents with that paradigm in mind?
Yeah, it'd be so amazing.
So incredible. Through your medicine journeys, do you find that you've been able to address what you just talked about?
I don't remember if I was already aware of this prior to entering the psychedelic world.
That's cool.
Yeah. For me, like for me, my spiritual journey started 3 years ago, and it was through traveling the world. So I've been traveling the world for like the last 3 years, and I've only just come back home. And having the opportunity to be in different places, meet different people, and be a part of groups that like kind of only talked about spirituality, that only had, these positive things to say, and had taught me what all these different modalities are. I think that really helped me become more evolved and more conscious and more just like aware of all this like stuff that we hold.
Yeah. That's really cool. I think it's important what you just said about being in a community.
Yes.
To be immersed, because our reality is so dependent upon our environment in ways that we don't quite give it credit for, and how we're influenced by it. And so as we're growing, for me, this was the biggest thing I think I had benefited from in my own growth, was finding a community, planting myself in it, and going, what can I receive and give in this environment? Wow. Knowing that I can immerse myself in the emotional intelligence conversations, in the consciousness communication. I'm in an accountability space where I'm held so that I navigate my language and my actions, and in a loving way, of course, in a compassionate space. But I don't know, and I couldn't say this for sure, if I would have grown into the woman that I did had I not gotten my coach, gotten into the trainings, put myself in a community, put myself around people that are like in that space, just was hungry for the knowledge and the wisdom. I don't know if I would have arrived here in the same way.
Mhm.
And maybe I would have arrived 10 years from now. I don't know. But I think that that is one of the most important things for anybody in their healing journey is to do not go alone.
Yeah.
Ever go alone into the healing journey. You
Yeah.
can, but I would never suggest it. Mm-mm.
So would they go get a sitter or like a coach or?
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That, especially working with psychedelic medicine.
Yeah.
I would say this for any healing modality and any journey where you're diving into yourself.
Yeah.
You can do journaling, and that's a very revealing practice. But being immersed with people and specifically plant medicine,
Yeah. It's definitely different when you're doing it in a group and like a group of you guys are like vibrating at the same frequency versus you're just being by yourself. And I would say if you're really new to doing this, definitely be with people who have more experience than you and who can guide you to, a safe anchor and we just like be by your side step by step of the way for sure.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel extremely privileged and grateful that I was led when I when I answered the call of the medicine, and it took me a couple of years to say yes. I am so blessed of who it was that I answered the call to. And working with my shaman is his name is Renee, was like so eye-opening, so transformative. And it was that trust, because that's a deep, vulnerable, open space of trust, is to give your safety over to the medicine man or woman.
Yeah.
Is to give your safety and trust over to whoever it is that's holding that space for you is so important. And when you're working with some of these deeper medicines, it cannot be taken lightly who it is that you choose to give the trust over to. So I feel so grateful that I was introduced into this world by the person and this incredible man that opened my eyes to the traps, the illusions, and truly how to do the tough, hard work in the medicine. Because a lot of people I've seen didn't have that opportunity when they got introduced to the medicine, and there was some fall that came afterwards that was really difficult to pick the pieces back up.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's one of the reasons why I do what I do now, is because I know how challenging it is. And I've seen a lot of people fall. So to be in the integration portion of it, that's my like, oh, thank you for giving me your trust. Thank you for letting me walk you through this. Thank you for coming and setting yourself up before and after and doing the work that comes after, because the medicine is such a small part.
yeah.
Like 5-10% of the journey. And we can't give our power and our like, oh my God, this medicine. Yes, this medicine, but I am the medicine. And the decisions that I do after are the medicine, and the way I handle it and the way I face my shit. That's the medicine journey. What the medicine self it does is that it gives me the moment to see it all. What do I do with it? That's the real stuff.
Yeah, definitely. What was the medicine that called you?
Well, what originally called me was psilocybin.
Mm.
That was originally what called me, and that's originally what I had started with very carefully. And I used to be a researcher, and science was where I began in my healing journey. I researched that medicine for so many years because I was so afraid of the stories that I had learned and been programmed by to fear the medicine from.
Oh, wow.
So it had taken me a long time to decondition the first narrative of psychedelics that I was given.
Yeah.
And so that was that. And then the next medicine that called to me is, I wouldn't suggest this, but it was 5-MeO.
Oh, no way.
It was 5-MeO. And then it was like, what did I just walk into? And it took me like 8 months to integrate.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, what is this? And then finally I had sorted out whatever it was to sort out, but I was still not totally understanding about what it was that I was walking into.
Mm.
I was simultaneously doing emotional intelligence work, so it made it easier. I was already doing the development, the inner journey right there when I went to that medicine. But the people that I've seen only go to that medicine without continuing to do the work of being in it. You can easily just break from reality. So it's such an important thing to be responsible, because these medicines are so powerful.
Wow.
And they will change your life in an instant. And they did for me.
True. With MEO, so you started with that. So how would you recommend other people to do it? Kind of work their way up to it?
Yeah. Most definitely. Looking back now, I'm not saying that you can't go there. I'm not saying you can't dive off the deep end, because you're going to get something every time. And trust me when I say that your intention is exactly what you will get, and be open to it going not the way you thought it was going to go.
Yeah. Like every time.
Like every time. But the medicine is smart.
Mm.
The medicine is smart. And more importantly, it's less, I really do feel like it's less about the medicine and more about who you ask to hold space for the medicine. If somebody really knows what they're doing.
Yes.
Like, I would never in a million years think that I could facilitate 5-MeO. Never. It's just, like, I've seen too much. I've seen, and I've been fortunate enough to sit in several ceremonies with my shaman. And I'm like, wow, we are one dynamic being. So when you see people in their possessions, when you see the entities and you see the demons and you see these like dichotomies of this person being like exposed and the different parts of their psyche all coming up at once, you're like, well, I'm glad it's you and not me doing this, because that shit is hard. My heart goes out to him because of how much he has to be with when he receives everything that people release in the medicine. That's a hard, I don't envy him.
Yeah.
At all. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. Definitely. So no, I would not start there, personally speaking. But if you do start there, make sure it's with somebody that knows exactly what they're doing, and you have sat with them and they have sat with you, and you have talked about it, and you have sat about it, and you have prayed about it. And there, I mean, like there is a 100% yes, yes, yes from your mind, body, and your spirit all going, this is the person.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What I would start with is more like mushrooms.
Yeah, exactly. I was in Mexico when I did my 5-MeO, and I was trying to find the different, basically I was trying to find them and then vet the different providers. And the couple that I went with, like I made them jump on a phone call with me, and I just asked them questions for like a whole hour and a half. And I'm like, okay, cool. I feel safe. Okay, it's you guys.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And I that's important. It's okay. I feel it's okay to ask too many questions to the person that will hold your spirit safe.
Exactly. I'm trusting you with my life. It's basically what's happening.
Yes. Yes. I'm not saying that on the other side that they're waiting for you to just be like, can you just trust me already? I'm sure they're just like, can you not ask 100,000 questions? Are you fine now? Because yes, we could totally work on these trust issues right now. Yeah, it's better to ask more questions than not.
Definitely. Any advice or reminders for people currently on their healing journey?
Yes. Stay in the work. No matter what happens, I cannot express this enough. Keep going. Keep expanding. Sit in the discomfort. Sit long in the discomfort. Sit and sit and sit and sit. And when you think you can't sit anymore, sit again. And sometimes it's going to require that we get so still, that our head gets so loud, that we want to do every coping mechanism possible. And it's there you will meet the darkness. It's there you will meet every reason why you are in the healing in the process. Mm-hmm. So sit and stay in the sitting, just stay in the work, stay around the people, get yourself in a community, in your coach, in your medicine community, stay in the work. I don't care if it's having to wake up and listen to Tony Robbins and every podcast and read the book, immerse yourself in the work, because it's too easy to be pulled out. It's too easy to be pulled back when we're in a world that doesn't celebrate healing yet. Mm-hmm. We're in a conversation right now because we're getting there, mm-hmm. but we have to be so willing to put up boundaries to invite in this conversation, to be literally drowning in the best way with this work. That's the advice I have to give.
That's awesome. Awesome advice. And I totally agree in terms of we're not there yet where healing is celebrated commonly. I'm still having conversations like, oh, what? You take all this stuff? These are drugs. I'm like, no.
No.
Let me send you some websites.
How cool is that we have that? We have the research for it. There's been the studies, and I celebrate that. Yeah. We're having this conversation, and you and I met because of what has been laid for us.
Yeah.
Which is so amazing. Oh, one more thing for anybody in their healing journey. Mm-hmm. Be so kind with yourself. Be kinder than you think you have to be. Mm-hmm. Be nice to yourself, because as you heal, you will meet parts of yourself you don't like. Mm-hmm. And you will screw it up again. And you will fall down again. And you'll fall back again. And you'll fall off again. And you'll do it again. So be very kind to your human, because you're doing the best you can with what you got. And you didn't know back then what you know now, and you won't, because next year you'll be a different person too. So be kind to yourself.
That's an important one, for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes. I don't think people understand just how hard and tough the healing journey is. Okay. So before we go into the lightning round, where can our listeners connect with you online?
At www.jamiestarcrawford.com is my website. And my IG handle is Jamie Star Crawford. So at Jamie Star Crawford, either one.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So lightning round, this is how it works. I'm going to ask a series of questions, and you can answer with the first thing that comes to mind in like one word or one sentence.
Okay.
Okay. Ready?
Ready.
What's your favorite psychedelic medicine?
Mushrooms.
Okay. What's the latest lesson that you learned?
Oh, this is a good one. In the spiritual journey, we keep trying to go up and out. But what we're actually looking for is in and down. Is not to get out of the world. It's to become better at the world by going inside. So when I'm serious, I'm trying to go meditate and go out and go into the ether and go talk to aliens and go talk to these fifth dimensional beings. And I still don't know how to talk to the person on the street. That's not the work here. So my last medicine experience reminded me like how much it is about the person that I talked to in the store. Yeah. That's the work. In and staying in earth.
In and down. Got it. Okay. What's next on your bucket list?
A road trip across the country.
Oh, that's always fun. Your spirit animal?
Cheetah.
Cheetah. Okay. Why?
Or a jaguar, actually.
Okay. Why a jaguar?
Observers. Fierce when they need to be, protective, not flashy, but willing to get messy. Very cunning, very clever, but also very relaxed and grounded. And they blend.
Yeah. It's very good
About me.
Okay. What's your favorite quote?
I have both of them on my
Ooh.
head here. So this one is, "Our lives are not our own." That's from the movie Cloud Atlas. And from A Course in Miracles, "Nothing real can be threatened." Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
What's next for you in your life or business or in your journey?
Well, I am launching my 4th round, which is like, it gets me so light up, Thea. I'm watching my 4th round of my women's course that I'm running, and that's starting next month. So that is what is immediately next for me right there. And it just lights me up, because like all the visions that I've had for this course and what this course is actually opening up as far as the next 3 years go is like, whoa. Because the space that I see that this course can offer in the transformation community is blending personal development with spirituality. And so I what's emerging through me as me right now is the space in between and how to navigate that.
Amazing. Could you tell us more about who this course is for?
Oh, yes. It's for people like you and I, my dear.
Nice.
It's for women only. And there's something beautiful about when women get together and share vulnerably, where healing is available. And this journey, it's really a 3-step process, but I'm enrolling right now for the first level. And the first level is radical honesty. And this is a journey that is meant to bring up everything that we are conditioned by and understand what it is that we are actually working with in the human self and in our spiritual self, and how to navigate the entire middle. We explore who it is that I really think that I am and how I understand that I got there. I getting to know the way that my mind and my body operate in the world, so that I can learn how to actually master my mind and therefore master my life.
Wow.
That's what we're doing in level 1. And so I'm really, really excited about that. And that's for women, because I want to see women free. The entire process itself is for women to create radical self-acceptance, that wholeness, because wholeness is when I accept everything I am and everything I'm not together, while knowing that I'm none of it. And so self-acceptance, self-expression, because how important is it, our voices as women? Talk about generational healing, generational oppression being broken, emotional suppression being broken, lifted. When we learn how to express and express authentically in something that is truly us and aligned with us, as opposed to I express to please you, or express to please my parents, or I express to feel acknowledged or accepted in this moment, but it's not really me, but I am doing it so that I can make sure that I don't get rejected. So it's allowing myself to peel back all that stuff to see, well, who is this voice as me? So I can be 100% aligned with myself, which again creates freedom. That's what we're here for, is to feel free and sovereign, is to know that I can choose any moment in my life in my authority.
Wow, that's some powerful stuff right there.
Yeah, that's why it excites me. Can you imagine women just like walking around all sovereign and shit? And we're just like, yeah. And we're not like, I don't have to prove anything. I don't got to defend myself to my mom or to my boyfriend, or to like, I'm good. And really be good.
Yeah, that would definitely make the world go better for sure.
It would be something different.
Yeah, I definitely have noticed going to like so many different integration circles where it is co-ed or women only, and the women only, like so many more people show up, and like we just share at such like a deeper level than you would with co-eds. Yeah, it's just something special and magical about, a group of ladies.
Tribe shit.
Yeah.
It's tribe shit. We were doing it for so many hundreds of thousands of years. We were in tribes, and there's something about women, like our energies together. There's that space, and there's a recognition and an understanding, and we don't really have to explain much, because there's something about it goes, I see you. Even when you say nothing, the expression on you, oh, I get her. And when she speaks, I see myself and I relate. Oh my God. And now I'm healing, because what you are sharing is giving me medicine That is so valuable.
That gets me really curious what happens in men's groups or men's circles.
Me too. I'm
like a fly on the wall and just like watch and see. It's like, oh, are they doing this as well? Yeah.
Oh, I think it's way different. I think they're also, crying and in a way that they're like, I got you, brother.
Yeah.
But they're also, I'm so curious too. I can only imagine. And with all the stories that we make up, and they're like, actually, it's just this, and this.
Yeah. Probably that's what's gonna happen.
We're actually pretty simple. It looks like this and it sounds like this, and then we do this, and then we feel great. We're like, oh.
And then we fist bump and we go out for a drink.
Yes.
Oh, geez. Okay, last question here, and then we'll close up. What do you want the world to know?
That they matter. That they matter. That a person really matters, and what they do matters, what they say matters, how they show up matters, that they matter. Yeah.
Yeah. That's so important for everyone to understand that about themselves as well. Right.
Vital. We get such a privilege to show up as humans in this experience, even if what we show up into is chaos. But knowing that I matter means that in that chaos, I can rise. Knowing that no matter how I've been victimized in my life, if I understand that I matter, then I can rise and overcome. And then because of that, in my mattering, change the condition that broke me. That we matter.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wish there was like a pill or something, and everyone who takes it can like understand that,
Make the matter pill.
Make the matter pill. The matter pill. Yeah.
The matter pill. It's white. You don't know what's in it, but when you meet it, you're like, oh, I can do everything, and I'm valuable, and I'm worthy, and I'm enough, and this is great. Yeah. And I'm so happy to be here. And no, I don't think you're judging me at all, because I couldn't care, because I'm here to give. Yeah. Like
yes. One day our world will, I hope, to be like that. Yeah. Amazing. Jamie, it's been a pleasure as always. I'm super grateful that you made the time to share your personal story with us today, to connect with me, and to be an inspiration to all the aspiring liberated leaders out there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate what it is that you're doing here, what you're creating just by having these conversations, and especially with the part and the role that you're playing, Bia. That's so important what you're playing. And I hope that you see that. And I am so grateful for this conversation.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. This podcast is brought to you by Akita Agency. We transform overwhelmed healers into liberated leaders with our signature Akita Liberation Loop method. We help psychedelic therapists and coaches evolve from a one-to-one to a one-to-many client model by co-creating evergreen funnels that lead to online courses and group coaching programs. We have a special gift for our listeners, a complimentary, bite-sized training series to level up your evergreen funnel knowledge. If you're not familiar with or feel overwhelmed with marketing, sales, and funnels, then this training is for you. Just go to akitaagency.com/tutorial. Thank you for listening to the Liberated Leader podcast. If you found value in today's episode, then please, 1, leave us a positive review, share it with a friend. 2, join our tribe on social. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Until next time, to your liberation and beyond.